The world seemed to hold its breath when the screen went black for a moment. Then lit up again, not with a commercial. Not with a movie trailer. But with two faces everyone knew too well. Yulong and Mei Mei sat side by side, silent at first. Before a trembling voice finally broke the stillness. "We've kept silent for too long." Yulong began. His tone was low. Yet every word carried the weight of years. Cameras clicked like raindrops against glass. Viewers watching from their phones, televisions, and laptops across the nation froze. Wasn't a scene from a drama, it was real. Mei Mei turned her head slightly. Look at fingers entwined nervously. "It's time we speak for ourselves," she said softly. But her voice was firm. She had rehearsed that single sentence 1,000 times in the mirror, waiting for this very moment. Tension was unbearable. For years, whispers had followed them everywhere, on film sets, at airports, in every blurred paparazzi shot and fan-captured moment. Two of them had always brushed it off, smiling politely, laughing off the rumors, or turning away. But tonight, there was no hiding. It had started with a photograph, a shaky, grainy image captured under dim streetlights. Two figures walking side by side, hands brushing, their shadows merging into one. That single image had set fire to every gossip forum and tabloid headline. Some said it was coincidence. Others swore it was proof. Yet neither Yulong nor Mei Mei said a word. Silence became their armor. And that silence, so clean, so deliberate, was what made everyone even more obsessed. Inside the broadcast studio, the light was soft but heavy. The air between them shimmered with tension and unspoken truth. For a moment, Yulong's eyes met the camera lens. In that second, even the most skeptical viewer could feel something beyond performance, a kind of trembling sincerity. A silent plea to be understood. He had always been known as the quiet one. The gentleman actor whose eyes could say more than any script. Mei Mei, on the other hand, was the nation's sweetheart, the pure flower of cinema. As fans called her. She had built a career on innocence. Soft smiles and gentle roles. To love publicly would be to risk everything she stood for. And yet, here they were. The rumors began years ago. Both agencies moved fast to control the damage. Statements were drafted, photos deleted, interviews cancelled. Focus on your career. Yulong's manager warned. A scandal now will ruin everything you've built. Mei Mei's sponsors were harsher. Our brand depends on your image. They reminded her. A single wrong headline, and every contract burns. So they chose silence. They smiled on red carpets as if nothing existed between them. They took roles that placed them side by side on screen but demanded they stay oceans apart in reality. Every glance had to be restrained. Every heartbeat measured. But silence is a living thing. It grows. It claws. It suffocates. And in that suffocation, they found secret ways to breathe. There were small things fans never missed. A bracelet they both wore, identical, yet never acknowledged. Yulong's late-night piano composition titled Mei. A stray caption on Mei Mei's social post, even in winter. The stars remember. Fans connected the dots like detectives building a case. Every coincidence was treated as evidence. Every silence as confirmation. The internet turned into a battlefield of obsession. Reporters defended them with fierce loyalty. Others mocked them for pretending. But as time passed, something shifted. Sympathy replaced suspicion. People began to sense there was pain behind their quiet. And that pain finally spoke tonight. The interviewer, calm but cautious, leaned forward. "So," she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "You two in love?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Yulong didn't answer at once. His jaw tightened. Beside him, Mei Mei took a slow breath. Eyes shimmering under the studio lights. She turned to him, searching his face for a heartbeat. The entire world seemed to fall silent. Then, almost in unison, they both said, yes. No scripts. No hesitation. That single word, sharp, pure, undeniable. The studio fell silent again, but outside, the world exploded. Social media detonated like fireworks at midnight. Hashtags flooded every feed. Yulong Mei Mei. They finally said it. True love confession. Servers lagged as fans tried to comment faster than their emotions could form words. Some wept. Some cursed. Some laughed in relief. "I knew it," one fan tweeted. You can't fake that kind of love. Why now? Another asked. After all this time, why now? No one knew the answer, except the two who sat together in that room. Hands trembling beneath the table. Still afraid of what they had just done. Mei Mei's eyes grew wet. We didn't want to lie, she whispered. But in this industry, truth has a price. Long nodded. We've been actors our whole lives. But tonight, for the first time, wanted to be human. It was raw, fragile, and painfully honest. Outside the studio, crowds gathered. News crews swarmed the building. Reporters cheered the confession, others smelt blood. This will break the internet. One producer muttered behind the scenes. And maybe their careers. But something else was happening too, something quiet and powerful. For the first time in years, fans stopped fighting. The chaos gave way to an overwhelming wave of emotion. People began posting old clips. Behind-the-scenes moments. Files they'd once overlooked. The puzzle pieces finally made sense. Underneath the noise, the love that had been hidden for so long began to feel real to everyone watching. In the final minutes of the broadcast, interviewer asked one last question. What do you want to say to those who will not accept this? Yu Long turned slightly toward Mei Mei. His voice soft but certain. Love isn't something to accept or reject, it just exists. Whether it destroys us or saves us, that's beyond our control. Mei Mei added, we've already lost so much by pretending. Maybe it's time to start living for real. There was no applause. No dramatic music. The sound of her quiet sob as she reached for his hand beneath the table, and this time, they didn't pull away. The camera squatted, the intertwining fingers. Tiny act of rebellion that felt like a revolution. The broadcast ended. Viewers were left in stunned silence. Some saw it as courage, others as madness. But everyone knew one thing, something irreversible had just happened. Behind the scenes, a reporter caught a glimpse of a producer whispering urgently into a phone. They shouldn't have said that, he hissed. Weren't supposed to go that far. And just before the screen faded to black, the camera caught the faintest flicker of worry on Yu Long's face, a flash of something unsaid, something heavy. Maybe love wasn't the only truth they had revealed tonight. It was only the beginning of a much darker one. Broadcast ended with a lingering image, their hands still joined, trembling. As the studio lights dimmed and the world outside erupted in chaos, the truth was finally out. But as millions celebrated, a question hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. What price would they pay for it? The broadcast ended in silence. For a moment, the world seemed frozen between disbelief and awe. Then, chaos broke loose. News tickers blazed red with breaking headlines. Comment sections flooded like bursting dams. Sponsors, and production teams scrambled into late-night crisis meetings. Who had caused the storm, Yu Long and Mei Mei, had vanished. No one saw them leave the studio. No one knew where they went. By dawn, their phones were off. Their social accounts silent. The entire nation woke up asking the same question, where are they now? Inside a small apartment far from the city center. Two sat by the window watching the sunrise creep across the rooftops. Empty coffee cups stood between them. Spoke for a long time. Mei Mei's eyes were red from crying. Her voice broke the stillness. Did we do the right thing? Yu Long didn't answer immediately. He stared at the horizon. His hands clasped tightly. We told the truth, he said finally. It has to mean something. She looked at him, tired but calm. Truth isn't free. Long. You know that. He did. He knew it better than anyone. By midday, the backlash began. Half the industry praised their honesty. The other half condemned them as reckless. A famous critic wrote, actors live by image. Destroying theirs, they destroy ours. Our agencies released short, cold statements. We were not informed about this broadcast. Sponsorship deals hung in the balance. Came the rumors, ugly, merciless, falling across every forum and tabloid headline. They only confessed because they were caught. She's pregnant. He's using this for publicity. Every lie twisted the truth until even the confession began to look like a mistake. But the truth, as always, more complicated. 3 days later, an anonymous post appeared online, leaked messages between Yu Long and Mei Mei, screenshots spread like wildfire. Some were blurry, others fake. A few were painfully real, private words. Changed years ago. now dissected by strangers. Yu Long's phone rang non-stop. Managers demanded explanations. Journalists called with threats disguised as questions. Night, he met with Mei Mei in secret again. Exhaustion visible in every line of his face. "Weren't supposed to have those," she whispered, trembling. "I know," he said. "But I think I know who does." Trail came from closer than anyone could imagine. Earlier, Mei Mei had fired a personal manager, a woman she'd trusted like family, for leaking minor schedule details to gossip reporters. She had paid her quietly and let her go. Now, that same woman had returned with revenge. A journalist's voice recording surfaced later. "She offered us the messages for money. Said if we didn't buy, else would." The realization hit Mei Mei like a physical blow. She knew everything. She murmured. "Every fight. I cried." She heard it all. Yu Long reached for her hand. "Then we stop hiding. They want the truth. We'll give them all of it." She looked at him, eyes brimming with despair and resolve. "Even if it ruins us." "Especially if it ruins us," he replied. The next morning, they issued a joint statement, raw, unfiltered, handwritten and photographed. "We were threatened with exposure. We chose to speak before being blackmailed. What you saw was not a scandal. It was survival." Within hours, their words went viral. The tone of public opinion began to shift. Where once there was mockery, there was now fury, but directed at the right people. Fans united under a single banner, "Stand with Yu and Mei." Online, thousands of users posted messages of solidarity. "They did what any of us would have done. This isn't a love story, it's courage." For the first time in weeks, the couple felt something close to relief. But the industry is slow to forgive. Projects were postponed. Contracts quietly dissolved. A major film Yu Long had been cast in replaced him overnight. Creative differences. The official statement read. Mei Mei's endorsements vanished one by one. Yet through it all, they appeared together whenever the press cornered them, never running, never denying. One evening, a tabloid photographer caught them walking along the same riverside where the first rumors had begun years before. They didn't hide this time. They simply walked hand in hand under the pale city lights. The photograph went viral. Not because it was scandalous, but because it was peaceful. Still, the damage ran deep. Mei Mei's mother broke her silence in an emotional interview. Daughter was taught to be kind, not perfect. Love is her crime. I'll carry the punishment with her. Her words brought a rare stillness to the online chaos. Days later, Yu Long's father, an acclaimed director known for his stern discipline, spoke publicly for the first time. "In my generation, we hid our truths to protect careers. My son has chosen differently. For that, I'm proud." It was the first time Yu Long had ever heard his father call him brave. Behind the headlines, the two retreated from the spotlight. They took a short hiatus, no interviews, no appearances. But rumors of their quiet life trickled out. Locals reported seeing them in small cafes, walking through parks, living like ordinary people for the first time. For a while, the world forgot to hate them. Came the invitation. Months later, their names appeared on the guest list of the Silver Moon Awards, the same ceremony they had once avoided for fear of being photographed together. The public buzzed with curiosity. Would they show up? Would they face the cameras again? When the night came, the red carpet glowed beneath 1,000 flashes. The announcer's voice trembled slightly as he said, "Next, Yu Long and Mei Mei." Every lens turned. Every reporter held their breath. And then, they appeared. Yu Long in a black suit, calm and steady. Mei Mei in an ivory gown, radiant yet unguarded. They walked slowly, hand in hand. Their steps perfectly in sync. The crowd, for once, didn't shout. They simply watched. A few fans began to clap. Then more joined. Soon, the applause became thunder. They stopped halfway down the carpet as reporters shouted questions. "Do you regret it? Was it worth the price?" Yu Long smiled faintly, corners of his mouth heavy with fatigue and defiance. "Many things because of honesty," he said. Voice barely audible over the camera's clicks. "At least now, we're free." Mei Mei squeezed his hand. "And sometimes," she added softly, "freedom is the only happy ending worth having." They turned toward the entrance, flashes exploding behind them, and walked inside, two people who had already paid for their truth. yet somehow looked lighter for it. Later that night, as the ceremony unfolded, a short montage played on the giant screen, scenes from their old films, laughter between takes, and finally, a photo of their intertwined hands during the infamous broadcast. The audience rose to its feet. Some cried openly. The screen faded to black, leaving only a single line of text. Love, once hidden in the shadows of fame, finally stepped into the light. For the first time since their confession, the world fell silent, not in judgment, not in scandal, but in quiet, collective understanding. Somewhere backstage, Yu Long turned to Mei Mei and whispered, "We made it." She smiled through tears. "Not yet," she said. "But we're closer than ever." Outside, the cameras waited for their exit. The couple didn't rush. They lingered for a moment, listening to the distant applause echo through the hall. The storm had passed. Rain was something unbreakable. The truth had cost them everything: careers, image, safety. But it had also given them the one thing they could never fake: freedom. And as they stepped out into the cold night, hands still intertwined, the world finally saw them not as idols or scandals, but simply, finally, as two people in love.